Hello. Today, I just want to mention a little bit of scripture that I've been thinking about. Looking in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 4, if I'm remembering correctly, paraphrased it, as the heart leadeth, provideth the steps, but God determines where the steps take us. And today I just want to touch on where our heart intends to go is not always where our heart will go. And I just want to thank God today because that's not always true. You know, we're always doing God's will. We're always trying to do the things that we think are right. And a lot of times what we think is right is not necessarily the right direction that Christ wants us to turn into and the direction He wants us to go. A lot of times it turns out that what we think is the right direction is actually the totally opposite way of the direction He wants us to turn. As children of God, we need to listen to the Spirit and listen to what He says to us and listen to what the Spirit of God says on each and every occasion in which we try to go out and do God's will. Today, I'm headed out to go get some shots. I'm going to go pick a friend of mine up right now, and we're going to go to Asheville, which is about a 45-minute drive, and I got about an hour and 15 minutes to get there, and it's going to take me about 20 minutes to get to my friend's house, so I thought I'd do a little recording here and help out a little bit, and maybe post it on the internet here shortly. Depends on how I feel when I get back. But, you know, right now I just want to thank God for all the opportunities He gives us. You know, we make plans for each and every day. That's what it means by our heart guiding our footsteps. We make plans for what we plan to do each and every day, each and every hour in which we live. We plan to do this, we plan to do that, we intend to go help a friend out, or we intend to go and see a couple of other friends or people and see what and all there is going on. I'm at a stop sign. But, you know, we thank God every day for our leadership and for our guidance. You know, if it wasn't for God leading us and guiding us, what would we do? A lot of times we plan our steps and we plan what we're going to do, and something happens and we wind up not being able to go in that direction in which we had planned, and we have another direction in which we turn. And what's leading us is a lot of times God's turning us away from our plans because of the situation that's coming around or because of something else that happens. A lot of times I've been turned around and had to go back and get something because I planned to go a certain place. And when I get back to that area, there's been a car accident. And it happened right around the same time that I would have been in that area. And I thank God that He protected me and He kept me safe. Same thing whenever we're planning on going somewhere, is walking around doing something. A lot of times we do that, and we think that we're going to actually get out and get something done today. Like today, I had planned to run out and get a load of scrap metal out and have my nephew take it for me to the scrap yard and everything else so we can have a little money to run over the nice long weekend that's coming up, Thanksgiving weekend. But things didn't work out so well. I got up this morning, I was excessively tired, even though I had slept well last night. Got up and was hurting extremely bad compared to normal for the type of day that we're having and everything. So I'm expecting some rain to come in tomorrow. But, you know, God guides our footsteps in every direction. I didn't get to go to load the metal like I planned to. They don't have a load for my nephew to take, so they're going to go ahead and go deer hunting today while I'm headed on to the doctor to get my shots done. And it's all because God has a master plan for what and all we have going on. What we decide to do each and every day is up to us, but whether or not our decisions happen and everything goes in the direction that we plan for it to go, that's not determined by us, that's determined by God. So we got to think about it. As we're walking as children of God, are we doing what God wants us to do, or are we too busy trying to fulfill our wants and our desires? God has a plan for each and every one of us. I was watching a video by Bob Smiley the other day, It's called his hot tub story, and it's funny, it's hilarious when you first start listening to it, but at the end of it, he really gets down to the nitty-gritty. And he has a phobia of hot tubs, so he found one that looked clean, and he decided he'd give it a try. And he said this man come in that he pictured in his mind as being a filthy man because he didn't shower off before getting in the hot tub, and he was panicking trying to get out. And he said as he was trying to get out, the man looked at him and said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you know Jesus?" And he said he had to stop for a minute and think, "Yeah, I do. I go around and I speak of him all the time." And that's something that we need to think of. He said he told him, "I pray every morning that I'll get one more chance to speak to one more person to see if they know Jesus." And he said, "That's my prayer every day, is that I'll meet someone that I can speak to about Jesus." And he says, if we all had a heart like that, to get to talk to someone about Christ and about what Christ does for us and everything, how much better would this world be? We're all too busy trying to go out and do things and letting our phobias and our fears interfere with what God has planned for us. And then whenever we do act on our fears, every now and then he puts a reminder in there to remind us that our fears are not the reason why everything is. Our fears are there because of this human nature. It's not because of what God has implanted in us. Our fears are there because of things that we were told were not right and stuff like that. If you ever sit there and you were raised in a real clean home and everything was set up just so, when you grow up, everything needs to be that way. But if you growed up in a home that they didn't really care how everything was set up and the way it was set up, you tend to live that way later in life if you don't change it yourself. And we all get used to whatever we're doing and let different things scare us and put fear in us. Well, if we sit there and we decide to let God control our lives and we do what Christ will have us to do, then that fear starts to remove and it starts to go into another direction. And we can overlook our fears to talk about Christ and tell different people what God has done for us as Christians. For me, for instance, I thought in December of 2008 that I was going to meet the Lord, the 17th of December. My stomach hurt so bad I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk any further. I had to just sit down where I was at. I was going to lay down on the floor with my dogs, and I hurt so bad I couldn't lay down. I had to sit back up. And I hurt so bad I couldn't breathe hardly. And my wife called the ambulance, had them come pick me up. And I can remember bits and pieces after that, all the way up until the surgery. I remember them putting me on the surgery table. Normally they put you to sleep before they take you to the table for surgery. And they were going to do exploratory surgery because they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. And all the different CAT scans, all the MRIs, all the different technology that the doctors have to be able to tell each and everything that might be or might not be wrong with you, that it didn't work. They weren't able to find out what the problem was. And they wound up having to go in and they cut my stomach open and they found a ruptured ulcer and was able to fix it and put it all back together. I remember waking up in ICU when they was giving me a bath, which was embarrassing to me because the only other person that had ever seen him give me a bath was my wife, that I can remember. I know my mom did when I was a baby, but you know how that goes. But it kind of embarrassing. I kept telling them my wife would do it if they would just let her, and they wouldn't let her. They decided that they had to do it. The hospital staff was trained to do that stuff and do everything. And I remember telling them my mouth was extremely dry, and they handed me this little sponge that had water in it. And I told them, I said, "Wow, that tastes like ice cream." And I passed back out. And I remember a few days later, I was in my own room and thinking to myself, I thought I was going to die. And here I am. I guess God still has something for me. And, we never know what's going to happen from day to day. I mean, the day before that, I had planned to send the kids off to school, get up in the morning and get stuff done around the house a little bit that I could do as I could do it, and get the wife sent off to work and different stuff like that. She was supposed to go to work that day, and she wound up having to call in because she had to take me to the hospital. My kids come home from school to find out that their daddy was in surgery. Their uncle was there, and my mom wound up watching it. She come in that day from Michigan, so it worked out. You know, things worked out. God